Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm very grateful that you're spending this few moments with me. You notice it says on the very front page, it says, Welcome to TalkFusion. We have people who have joined this session with actually three separate purposes, and I'm hoping that in the next 30 minutes or so that we can cross all of those bridges. There are people here who have a project they're involved in that they're devoted to, committed to, excited about, eager to succeed in the future, but they're having a hard time breaking through, or perhaps they are breaking through, but they're searching for ways to grow more quickly. So, for those of you who have a project you love and are trying to determine how you can grow more quickly in that project, I think the next 25 or 30 minutes are going to be important. There are also people here who are full-time career engaged in some other kind of business who are looking for a way to cover the bridges just a little bit, just to make a few extra dollars per month. There is an affiliate opportunity here in addition to the product use. And there are people here, I'm aware of at least one person who was here this evening who told me earlier today that he has a need to generate income quickly and right now does not have a project. And so we'll introduce you to a tool that we believe can be of value to the project you're currently involved in. We'll introduce you to a tool which can be a part-time business, and we'll introduce you a tool which can be a full-time business. And each of us get the opportunity to self-select and do that which is correct for us. As we begin, I reflect on my experience when I became hired as a stockbroker by Merrill Lynch a long number of years ago. And I was so excited. I went out to New York. I was part of Merrill Lynch training class number 308. And when I went there were 347 of us. And they told us at the end of that 6 weeks in New York, having just been trained by what was widely considered to be the best firm on Wall Street, they told us that between 13 and 15% of us would still be in the brokerage industry 5 years later. That's how difficult it is to break in. And I remember that was kind of daunting information for me. And I remember when I went back home, I felt like I was standing at the bottom of a very, very steep and a very long hill. And I realized the greatest challenge that I had. I realized the greatest challenge I had was that anyone who had investable assets already had a broker. That broker knew more than me by definition. I was a brand new trainee. That broker had more experience, and the investor had a relationship with that broker. I liken it to a political campaign. The power of the incumbency is incredible. It is much easier to retain an office that one holds than it is to unseat one who holds the office. Very similarly, if I have a real estate agent that has done several transactions for me and done them well, that person would be the incumbent, and it's very, very difficult for someone else to break in. So when we look at it first, I invite you to first watch this first video as you contemplate your own business and ask yourself this simple question. Do you suppose that you would be more likely to break through with proper branding? You see, the challenge that I found myself with at the bottom of that long, steep hill at Merrill Lynch was that I didn't have a darn thing to offer the client that the firm they were currently using could not also offer. Merrill Lynch did nothing that E.F. Hutton did not do. Merrill Lynch did nothing that Shearson Lehman did not do. And so what I had to do was separate myself. I could not separate the company or the product or the service. That was really difficult, given that I was inferior to the incumbent, the one who already had the account. That person knew more. And I reflect back on that experience. And by the way, I was one of the handful. As luck would have it, or God was kind to me, I was one of that 15% who did make it. And so first, I want you to look at this tool from the standpoint of one who hasn't made it yet, is trying to break through, or from the standpoint of one who is making it, but not as quickly as you want to, or from the standpoint of one who simply, well, let's just go that far with this first video. Babe, please go and play the first one. And so, in those earliest comments, reflected upon what it felt like to be the person who did not have the account, trying to earn the account, trying to get in the door, was extraordinarily challenging. And as each of you watch that, ask yourself the question, would you be more likely to receive and review a message with the individual being properly branded? Would that make a difference to you? That would make a difference to me. I believe that would have made quite a difference in my ability to break through at the very outset. I think that the fact that when I look at my email account, and by the way, we talk about video email, put an asterisk on that thought. It is video communication, video branding, whether you choose to use TikTok or Instagram, however you communicate with people, video communication. Remembering that you are the single most important ingredient. If you can imagine a recipe for a loaf of bread, if it has all of the ingredients except the catalyst ingredient, which is yeast, it will not rise, and you don't have a loaf of bread. You are the catalyst ingredient in whatever your endeavor is. Given that you are that catalyst, does it not make sense to brand you and make you stand out? That's what the whole concept is. Now, in addition to the simple thought of a video branding message, we go a little bit further than that because as we continue the thoughts, what we have is an opportunity to expand our communication. The likelihood of a person reading a written text that would take 1 minute to deliver is almost none. Watching and listening to a video for 1 minute is not difficult. Reading a text for 1 minute is extraordinarily difficult. And so it's not just the fact of a different method of communication, it's the fact that people receive the message so very, very differently with proper branding. The simple idea is to stand out in the inbox and not to get lost. I look at my own phone. I have 182,000 unread emails. 182,000 people sent me a message anticipating that I would receive it with some eagerness. 182,000 times I did not even open it. We give you the opportunity to stand out of the email in the email box itself simply because what a person sees is an icon as opposed to seeing that same text that you see every place else. One thing I've learned along the way is that an entrepreneur does not want to spend time learning a lot of things that don't directly impact their business that day. And so the dramatic ease, and so I saw Barbara shake her hand. Barbara, what I don't want to do is take you away from whatever are your revenue producing activities. We all have, in whatever form of business we're engaged in, we have certain activities that make the revenue wheel spin. The last thing I would want to do is take any entrepreneur and have them spending time trying to figure out how to communicate via video. It needs to be so eminently simple that in a matter of 90 seconds, you can understand how to utilize the process. And I assure you, this is a 90-second education curve. I contemplate the fact that this process will cause people to get a little bit better. And I'm looking at Barbara right now. And who knows, Barbara, but Barbara's got makeup on, she's got her hair combed. Um, you are one who already knows, understands the value of branding. Some people don't understand the value of branding. I can tell you that there are people who will begin to take care of themselves a little bit differently because they're recognizing that they are the catalyst ingredient. Doesn't it make sense that if you're going to brand yourself, that you want your brand to be as attractive as it can be? I'm telling you that as a side effect of what we do, people will lose a few pounds, people will become a little bit more cautious about their appearance, and people will learn how to more effectively deliver a concise message in 2 minutes, three or four. That will wind up having positive result, positive impact in so many parts of their lives. I want you to stop and contemplate this for a moment. I have no clue, Barbara, what you do for a living. Let's imagine for a moment that you're a real estate agent. Okay? One may question what would be the implications of personal use of a video communication. It's really, really simple. I was speaking actually in an earlier segment today. I was talking with a gal that owned a dress shop, and we talked about the idea of the fact that she sent thank you notes to people for many, many, many years, handwritten thank you notes. That handwritten thank you note is nice, but would that be the same as sending a birthday greeting that was branded happy birthday and that then had you singing happy birthday or saying thank you so much for being my client? Thank you so much for the time we've spent together. Please stop by, and as a birthday greeting, I'll have a glass of sparkling water for you and show you my newest offerings in her dress shop. Is it not obvious that that video greeting would provoke a different response than sending a handwritten gift card? I mean, it's a 100% chance. It's not 70 or 80 or 90. It's 100% chance. And so every time one utilizes the service, what are we doing? I contemplate any entrepreneur. What do we want to do? We want to attract more clients. We want to retain the clients that we have. Now, with that thought, I'm going to ask Samantha to play the second video because I want to broaden the thought just a little bit. remember, and I described the way that I felt when I came back from training in New York. And I felt like I was standing at the bottom of a very deep, very steep hill. And I had to find a way to break through what I've described as the power of the incumbency. And it wasn't easy. It was extraordinarily challenging. And that's why 85% of the people that Merrill Lynch had invested so much money in were no longer in the financial services world only 5 years later. Um, I consider the fact that every single time we utilize this service, what was my challenge? My challenge was trying to find new candidates, new clients. That was my challenge. Every single time one uses this video service, that creates a new client potentially, because that will lead to the question, what was that and how can I do it? And so simply by sending a greeting card, a thank you note, a congratulatory card, that creates, and that will over and over and over again create a question. What was that and how did I do it? How did you do it? So, for those of you who are interested in utilizing this as a secondary income generator, I want you to know it doesn't take any time. So, Barbara, let's assume you're a real estate agent, you're spending 80 hours a week at real estate, you got not any time. Every time you send a video message such as I've described to you, I believe that you will get maybe 75% of the time after that. What was that, Barbara? How did you do it? And if you refer them to the program, you'll earn royalties if they use it also. The company doesn't charge you to become an affiliate. If you use the service, you're a customer. If you refer it to someone else and they use it, you'll receive royalties. It's about the simplest thing I've ever seen. And it can be little royalties or it can be big royalties, depending on your goals and objectives and so on. But going back to when I came back from New York, I'm standing at the bottom of the hill. I fought my way through. I made it, and then I became the incumbent. I was a senior vice president at Merrill Lynch. I had the clients, but now I didn't have time. When I was a brand new broker, I had an hour to talk to any client who wanted to talk to me. When I had 1,000 clients, I had a minute to talk to them. And so now it became appropriate that my communication, it became necessary that my communication not involve all those person-to-person conversations. I couldn't replace a person-to-person conversation in any way with a written text, but I could replace it in some way with what you're seeing. And so I believe this has incredible value for the one trying to earn the account earlier in a career. I also believe that it has tremendous value for one trying to retain the account later in the career. What do we seek to do? Almost no matter what business we're in, we seek to attract more customers, users of our service, whatever it is. We seek to have more cordial relationship with them such that more loyalty is created. We seek to have an increased number of transactions over a longer period of time. Even when it says personal use, it is my belief that that personal use transitions almost immediately to business use because you send the greeting to someone, and almost universally you're going to hear the question, what was that and how could I do it? The business uses for me are very, very obvious. Samantha and I moved from California to Utah a couple of years ago, and when we did, obviously we had to find new people to clean our windows. Our window cleaner was not going to come from California. We had to find new people to do our landscaping. We had to have new dentists. Samantha had to have a new OBGYN. I had to have a new ophthalmologist. On it goes. And you know what? Everybody in this little town we live in missed their chance to get a very, very important client. And we live in a zip code where it's obvious that we spend money. Because of that, we get countless approaches. But you know what? Those approaches don't stand out. Literally none of them. And it was nothing more than a lottery who got our business. That's a shame. Someone could have got our business because they stood out from the crowd. Nobody did, and literally it was a lottery. This next one for me is near and dear to my heart. Part of my life experience, I'm just kind of a fully disclosed guy, and life is what it is. I've been alcohol and drug free for a lot of years now, but for a while I was literally crippled and with drug addiction, alcoholism, and when it became more important to me to get and stay sober than anything else, I actually lived in a Carmelite monastery with 54 nuns for a period of time. And that was an experience, me and 54 nuns. And each morning at 4:45, I would go into the chapel and I would hear them sing the morning office. And when they sang the morning office, I didn't realize what was happening at the time, but later I read a book called The Interior Castle by Teresa of Avila, and I would feel a swelling in my breast and tears in my eyes. Teresa of Avila said that what had happened was their singing had dilated my soul, and I could now receive information I could not otherwise receive. Well, we love those sisters, and so we support their novitiate, and we've done other things for them financially. But what if I didn't love them? They would have a hard time getting through to me with an email. But I imagine, what if the outreach that I received instead was a personally branded custom template that said the Carmelite Sisters of the most sacred heart of Los Angeles? And what if when I opened it, they began singing those same songs that brought tears to my eyes when I was staying with them? Don't you suppose that with my soul being properly dilated, that I might make a different contribution than I otherwise would? And don't you suppose a person who might otherwise not make a contribution would? There's an absolute certainty that that is the fact. We are How many times have we been taught and taught others that the least important part of communication are the words? It's your smile. I mean, Barbara, you happen to be right on the screen where I can see you. A text does not describe you, but a video does in a lot better fashion. And if in fact each of us are the catalyst ingredient in any recipe, then this becomes an extraordinarily important concept. Stand out in the crowd instead of being blended into the crowd if we want to earn market share or to retain it. We talked about the idea of custom templates. In a few moments, we'll shift gears and talk a little bit about the business application. But any user of this service will have 1,000 pre-designed templates that are everything from happy birthday to condolences to congratulations, and 1,000 of them every holiday. Happy Hanukkah, happy Easter, Merry Christmas, down the line you go. Every holiday, 1,000. So you could use 3 templates a day for a year and never even use them all up. Now, that's not what would in fact would happen. Your particular life and your business will determine which ones are used most frequently. But then there's that special application. For example, in my business, I've built a global community for a number of years. That doesn't mean it's big. It just means that there's 1 or 2 people in various nations all over the world. But I've got this global community, and one of the ways that I stay in touch with them, and by the way, what is the purpose of that community? Many years ago, if you'd asked me what I wanted, I'd have said, well, I want Converse sneakers because that's what the cool kids wear. Well, that was the thought of a 9-year-old. Today, I know what I want. What I want is to be more happy more of the time. And I know what the contributors are to being more happy more of the time. And so I've got this community of people, and our shared objective is to be more happy more of the time. And each day I send out something called the Daily Dose of Randy, which describes what I plan to do that day to be more happy more of the time and hopefully help them do the same. Well, I think the value of that's extraordinary because it's my content. It's me. I think it's wonderful. But the perceived value on the recipient side is very small. Very shortly, that will be one of my custom templates. It says a daily dose of Randy. If the perceived value is better, then all of a sudden the actual value is better. I can't wait. And each one of you, I promise you that whatever is your specific uniqueness, when you brand it in a custom template, you will then have a greater opportunity to break through. Now, everyone is choosing to use a service. I have a friend on here in Australia, a new friend, just met him today, um, named Carl. And I would ask you, Carl, to ask yourself this question. Carl, contemplating getting involved in a direct selling business. Would it be of importance to you, Carl, to have instant notification when someone receives the video that you've sent? Would that be important to you? I think it would for anyone who is in any kind of a client forward-facing environment. If I know, for example, when Brian has reviewed material, then I know it's appropriate to contact. That's the most obvious surface value of having this real-time reporting. There's more to it than that. If I send a video message to Brian and that video message is 2 minutes long, and I get a report that says that he watched 1 minute and 35 seconds, then it's the very same as if he just sent me a message saying, Randy, you got to get your message across to me in 1 minute and 35 seconds because that's how much bandwidth I have for what you're describing right now. See, I need to communicate with Brian the way that Brian wants to be communicated with. And we don't know that unless we have reporting. If I send that same message to Barbara, send a 4 minute message to Barbara, and she watches all the way through all 4 minutes and watches it 3 times, then the diagnostics taught me she wants more information. I think it is critically important that we communicate with people the way that they would like to be communicated with. And I can't begin to know that if I don't have the reporting. I think that this is, again, there are obvious parts of this message, and there are intricacies and nuances which may not be as immediately obvious. Once again, I think for anyone who is seeking to gain new clients, anyone who is seeking to increase their revenue stream from those clients, anyone who's seeking to retain clients they already have, this is of immeasurable worth. It's of immeasurable worth, but it costs so very little. Hey, would you slide this up? I can't understand. For some reason, the trackpad does not work for me. It works for my wife. And so here we have 3 packages, and
He's
now
getting better though.
and now we we kind of wrap up the conversation as it relates to utilizing the product purely for the purposes of growing a business you already have. There are 3 packages. The 3 packages are all outstanding. The one that would be appropriate for you depends upon a few of your variables. The starter package, one spends $175 one time. And for that $175 one time, you get access to all 1,000 of those templates. You get the ability to record video messages up to 5 minutes in length. And by the way, that is more than enough for the vast majority of people. It's not, it takes a professional communicator to be able to deliver a message that is longer than 90 or 120 seconds and have it actually help you. And so one of the things that I believe will occur is people will develop communication skills as we go along. I think 5 minutes is more than adequate for the vast majority of people, certainly at the outset. You can import 2,500 candidates into the app, and it has 2 GB of storage. The storage is what allows you to retain all those video messages, which is one of the ways to manage a candidate or a contact list. The Elite, and by the way, there is a $20 per month fee to utilize the service. One time to acquire your position, one time to acquire the package, and thereafter $20 per month to continue to use. The Elite package is more robust. It's those same 1,000 already prepared templates, but now it has three custom designed instead of only one. And that, by the way, the custom designed templates are where the real magic is here. It doubles your recording time to 10 minutes. It doubles the contacts you can import to 5,000 and doubles the storage. For those of you who would seek to use the product for multiple purposes, for example, Samantha and I use the product um, but we use it to grow a direct selling business. We use the product as a standalone income generator. We use the product in our outreach to help people in charities and so on. We will use the product. The fact is being introduced next month. The professional pack is $700, and the key to this one is the ability. First, it's the 6 GB of storage, and it is the ability to actually private label even the customized template further, and you'll kind of understand as you go further. So 175 or 350 or $700 to me, considering that attracting or retaining one client is worth more than $700, depending on the nature of the business. If you're a real estate agent, attracting or retaining one client worth a whole lot more than $700, and you pay that one time. Attracting or retaining a client, if you are in the mortgage business, is worth a whole lot more than either 175, 350, or 700. If your principal interest or your total interest is in utilizing the product to grow a business or an enterprise of some kind you're already in, I have delivered the information that I'd like for you to receive. I would strongly encourage you to notify whoever invited you to be here that you would like to use the service. This company, I'll describe a little more. It'll be important for you to know this. TalkFusion is the company we're speaking of. TalkFusion has existed since 2007, has done $3.75 billion in sales, did over $100 million in revenue last year. This is a legitimate, very, very, very well thought of company. It is completely debt free. What is being introduced 3 weeks from now is a complete, not just refreshing, but a complete reintroduction. Technology that was red hot in 2007 would not be red hot in 2025. So complete refreshing of everything. And a complete refreshing of not just the product, but a complete refreshing of the opportunity that is associated with the product for those who choose to use it as an income generating device. So for those of you whose total interest is in growing an existing business, I've shared with you the information that I would need to have to want to use this as a video device, as a branding device to cause you to separate yourself from others. Now, if you would like to learn about the affiliate opportunity, I invite you to stick around for another 5 minutes. But I do not want you to think that you were invited here to learn about a product and then you're as a bait and switch to a business. No, if you came to learn about a product, I've delivered the information I want you to have. If you are interested in understanding the affiliate possibility, I'll give you a little bit more information. First, in my career in business, I've been in the micro enterprise home-based business arena for the last 35 years. And I've come to understand that without question, the single most important thing is with whom do we associate ourselves? Bob and Christy Reyna are the founders and sole owners of TalkFusion. They launched the company, as I said, in 2007, have done 2.7, I'm sorry, have done $3.7 billion in sales since then. Bob is the kind of man you want to do business with. He started out as a Hillsborough County sheriff's deputy making $9.50 per hour, is now a certified billionaire with personal assets approaching $4 billion today. Bob and Christy espoused what I was taught so many years ago by Mother Regina Marie when she would put her hands on my shoulders and look up at me and say, Randy, God will never be outdone in generosity. She said it over and over again. Randy, God will never be outdone in generosity. She said, Randy, God's being generous to you right now by allowing you to be here in the convent with these sisters. You're getting well. You're going to leave here and be successful. When you do, please remember to be generous to other people. And when I met Bob, one of the first things that I found out was that he had recently donated $1 million to the Hillsborough County SCPA, whatever the animal program of Hillsborough County. And that was for me so fascinating. And I loved that because we have a little boy, Samantha and I, we have an 8-year-old. And 8 years ago, when he was just not quite one, we took him to a petting zoo at Christmas time. And when we left, he cried. And so we built him a petting zoo. And so if you come and visit us and you're all invited, we have many donkeys and many goats and chickens and bunnies and all that stuff. And so I love animals and I love animal lovers. And when I learned that they had donated $1 million to that cause, that made me know that I was working with people of like-minded spirit. If you're interested in this from an income standpoint, I want you to know without question that TalkFusion has no competition. My friend Carl, who was on here from Australia, indicated an interest in getting involved in a direct selling company. And Carl, I'll tell you that the single most important thing that must happen in a direct selling company, the most important thing, is that new affiliates who join you need to make money, and they need to make money pretty fast. It's not the same. If you're utilizing the product to help your real estate business, then one should not expect the product to make an immediate change in your real estate income. But if one gets involved in a secondary income source, it is almost always because there is an immediate need, not a long-term need. When I've looked at Bob and Christie's success in this home-based or micro-enterprise industry, there are a variety of reasons for it. In addition to TalkFusion, by the way, they own a company called Chiari, launched only 6 years ago in the face of COVID. It's a product-based company, not something that I would have specific interest in, but I do have interest in the fact that after only 6 years, they do $2 million per day in sales. In the entire world of micro-enterprise, there is no man or there is no couple who so correctly have their finger on the pulse of the industry and have got the key so completely in the lock. And I will tell you the single biggest contributor to that is that they're able to make commission payments 1 minute after the transaction completes. If you, Barbara, for example, were to choose to be an affiliate in our company, not using the product only to grow your business, whatever it is, but if you chose to become an affiliate in our company, the very moment somebody buys that starter pack, within 1 minute, you got $50 you can transfer to your bank. If somebody buys the middle pack, 1 minute later, you get $100. Somebody buys the biggest pack, 1 minute later, you get $200. We live, most of us here, with the exception of my friend Carl, I think most of us here are probably living in the United States, is described as the wealthiest nation on earth. My own experience is that most of the citizens of this wealthiest nation on earth don't have any money. I mean, people are laboring under an absolute lack of cash. They may or may not have real estate equity. Nobody has any cash. And this idea of paying people in 1 minute is probably the biggest reason that his companies so dramatically outperform everything else. And by the way, you learn everything you have to know about the company when you find out they pay in 1 minute, because that means they've got a merchant processor that doesn't require them to hold reserves. If the merchant processor doesn't require them to hold reserves, that means the company has AAA credit. You know all there is to know about the financial strength of the company when you know that they can make instant payout with no reserves. Any of you who know the merchant processing business, that just spoke volumes as to what the nature of this company and these people are. It is never my intention in an introductory conversation like this to give a broad discussion of how the compensation plan works. I will quickly describe. It makes me put up an income disclaimer. The income disclaimer is really simple. Barbara, if you don't work, you won't get paid. Okay, that's it. That's all I have to say about the income disclaimer. Go ahead and go to the next one. There are 5 ways that one generates income as an affiliate in this company. First, every time someone that you introduce acquires that starter package, you get paid $50. They introduce the elite package, you get paid 100. The pro package is 200. Second way to generate income, we build teams. If you were to enroll, and again, now I'm looking at my friend Steve. Steve, if you were to become an affiliate in this company, if you were introduced two people, one of them would go on the right side of a two-legged structure, one would go on the left side. Whenever there's 200 volume points on each of those two sides of the business, that generates a $25 commission. Now, that may not sound like a whole bunch, but you know what? That can happen a lot of times. What creates volume, you ask? Well, if I were to enroll a new member who acquired the Elite Pack, that would create 350 volume points. Excuse me, that would create 200 volume points. If I enrolled someone who acquired the Elite Pack on the other side of the business, that would create 200 more. Every time there's 200 points right and 200 points left, that generates what's called a cycle commission. This next thing I say, it might bounce off your brains a little bit, but that can accumulate to up to $50,000 per week. Now, I know when I say that, that probably just bounced off of most of your brains. Folks, I have been in the micro enterprise world for the last 35 years. My organizations have done more than 5 billion US dollars in sales. People in my organizations have been paid $2.7 billion in commissions. And I have personally lived that life of that $50,000 per week and more for most of my adult life. The doubts, fears, and insecurities that people have about the direct selling industry are in some places well founded, and in some cases they are not, if one comes to understand what the elements are that are required for success. Second element required, the second compensation plan component, simply team commissions. Every time you got 200 points here, 200 points here, $25. Third is maybe for me the most important or most attractive, and my wife has left me and I can't advance this slide, but I can't explain to you why. Okay. Um, if I earn money because Steve spends, I don't think that's very good money. If I earn money because Steve tries, I don't think that's very good money. But if I earn money because Steve earns money, I think that's fantastic money. And this compensation plan component is exactly that. Whenever someone that you have introduced the concept earns one of those team commissions because they've got volume on the left and volume on the right, every time that happens, when they earn a team commission, you get a matching bonus. And so if they earn $25, you make $2.50. If they make $20,000, you make $2,000. And everything in between, and clear up to $50,000 per week that our individual could earn, and we can earn matching bonuses. Now, once again, when I say those great big numbers, for most people, that a little bit hard for them to wrap their arms around. So you water it down to what you can understand, or multiply it to what you can understand and believe. The key to the matching bonus is that now we're getting paid because other people are earning. And I believe the laws of the universe conspire in our behalf if we subordinate our successes to the successes of others. And so, Steve, would you rather, if you had your choice, would you rather that I was focused primarily on my profitability, or would you rather that I was focused on your profitability? I think you'd rather I was focused on your profitability. That is what this compensation plan component does. It teaches us to focus on the profitability of the people that we introduced the concept. I think that that's the very, very, very best way to generate income, and there is no limiter as to what that can ultimately add up to. The next compensation plan component is rank advancement commissions. One of the things that I've learned, and I've learned it convincingly and I think conclusively, is that most are just literally cash starved. And the development of an organization takes a period of time. However, this company has been wise enough to put meaningful rank advancement bonuses very, very early in the development of the business. It doesn't take much to be a 3-star. I'm not going to describe all of it right now, but it doesn't take much. There will be lots and lots and lots of people who the very first day this company is live will not just earn that 3-star bonus, but the diamond and the double diamond. And there'll be some who earn all 5 of those rank advancement bonuses the very first day that this company goes live. That, by the way, is going to be sometime in the next 3 weeks. I'll describe to you in a couple of moments how that might occur for you. There needs to be something in the compensation plan that rewards the people who are willing to make sacrifices to go all the way to the top. And I've been at this for a very, very long time. I love the way that this leadership pool works because it does not allow one person to suck it all out. Anyone who lives at the top rank, even though, and we could have, for example, I'm looking at Steve and I'm looking at Panama Lacrosse here together. Steve might be a blue diamond in rank and have $5 million in monthly sales. Panama Lacrosse might be the same rank and have $1 million in sales. In this case, each would receive the exact same out of that bonus pool. Sometimes companies are constructed in such a way that that one great big outlier at the top sucks almost all the money out. This compensation plan in this company doesn't have that occur, and it's just a better way to pay people. We could go on and on, babe. You left me again. You can't leave me. I can't move my slides. Okay, we'll stop the share since we don't have any more slides. Okay,
Let's go. Vasco needs
just
to.
go to the next slide, baby, please, for me. Okay, that's all it is. Launching soon. But I wanted to talk to you about that idea. Launching soon. What exactly does that mean? TalkFusion has existed since 2007. I would not encourage any of you to go to the TalkFusion website right now. The current existing TalkFusion website is beautiful, I think, but it is reflective of old technology, not new technology. The current website will be shut down in something like 10 days, and the brand new website will go live. That's the one that I want you to see. Not just because the website is prettier, but because all of the new technologies, all of the new services, the things that add up to a complete reimagining of the company, all of those things will become evident in a matter of just a handful of days. That's what I really want you to see.
This video.
Yep. Now, we shared a couple of videos at the outset that were talking about the product. And then we shifted gears a little bit. And by the way, I want you all to note that I think that the vast majority of people who are invited here to learn about the product are still here to learn about the business. By and large, people want to make money if there's something that makes sense. And especially people want to make money if they can add an additional source of income without distracting from current income. Here we do the opposite. We help you grow your current income. We cause no distraction. And at the same time, we help you create that current income. We create a secondary income for you in a business model that's long been misunderstood. Let's watch a short video. Okay. So let me talk to you a little bit about what the specific opportunity is at this very second. TalkFusion, as I've indicated, has existed for some period of time. This complete, total reimagining of the company is happening literally right now. Sometime in about the next 3 weeks, the company will go live with all of the new technology. I would just like to ask one or two of you a simple question, and you can respond to this yourself. There's my friend Carl. Okay, so Carl, let me ask you a question, and whatever the answer to it is a perfectly legitimate and good answer. If today you were asked to make a decision, a yes or a no decision, would it be easier to make that decision if you didn't have to fund it today? Yes or no? Would it be easier to say yes if you didn't have to fund it today? It would, wouldn't it? And would
No,
it also be easier to select the package that is best for your interests as opposed to the one that's best for your bank balance? Would it be easier to select the large package if you didn't have to fund it today? I think so. Now, Colin, here's my suggestion to you. And I'm speaking to Colin, and then by the way, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but Colin told me an hour and a half ago he needed to make some money now, right? And so, Colin, let me tell you what my suggestion is. My suggestion to you and to anyone else who needs to make some money now is as follows. Samantha will post in the chat screen in this Zoom a online temporary registration form. The company's not even live right now. You couldn't pay for it if you wanted to. They wouldn't accept your credit card. You can right now secure your position in the structure by filling a temporary application that will secure your spot in the tree, and that will give you the opportunity to earn your way in. How can you earn your way in? Because, Colin, tomorrow at noon Eastern Time, United States, that's appropriate for you at noon Eastern Time, there'll be a conversation like this one. And there'll be another one at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, and one at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and one at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. And so, what I would counsel any of you to do, Victoria or Ken or Greg or Brian or Bev or Carl, I would encourage you to simply invite a person to be on tomorrow's Zoom as I invited you to be on tonight's Zoom. And you know what? You can earn your way in. Remember what it takes? It takes $700 to acquire that professional pack. Enroll 3 people, that's $600 if they buy the professional pack. Colin, I can tell you as a statement of fact that I've had countless people, countless really, um, hear this message at noon and have earned their way in plus by 6 p.m. that same day. That's happening right now. Why? Because of the power and the magic of you can be first and not suffer the risk that are typically a part and parcel of that. Now, my time is spent, but folks, I want to share with you an amazing experience that I had back in 2004. And it's an opportunity and experience that you can have right now if you are ready to take the required actions. In 2004, I was given an opportunity to participate in a brand new startup venture. It was just beginning. It wasn't even open yet. Very, very, very much like this brand new startup venture. I couldn't pay because the company wasn't even open. I seized that moment. I had a month and a half to gather people. I gathered those people. They could say yes without funding that decision this moment. They could earn their way in. And you know what? 4 weeks later, when the company went live, 6 weeks later, My group did $2 million in sales the first day, and my very first commission check was over $86,000. That's almost miraculous, isn't it? It's hard to imagine. That happened because I had a chance to be first, and I was willing to be first because I didn't have the risks associated with it because of who the owner of the company was. Folks, you get a chance to be first, not just at the bottom left-hand corner of the graph, but left of that. The company's not even launched. That's about 6 weeks from now or a month from now. You can gather together people today and you can earn a lot more money than it costs to start that very first day. So, all of that being said, if you came here this evening to learn about a product or service that could help you in your existing business and in your personal life, I believe you've heard about it, and I hope you'll choose to act upon it. And I'm very, very eager to hear of your successes. If you came here to learn about how to generate a part-time income, I hope you've heard what you had to hear. And if you came here to learn about a way to separate yourself from a generation of income and perhaps get out of a financial bind, I hope you heard what you need to hear.